Hello everyone, today we are looking at Northstar's ordnance ability, the cluster missile. Now this is a really versatile tool that's at your disposal, and although it is not the most complex ability, hopefully there will be some aspects of it or tips in this video that are new to you. We will go over the full specs of the cluster missile, and then talk about some of its lesser known attributes and uses, and also some tactics that are toward the end. So what exactly is the cluster missile? Well, it is a shoulder-mounted missile that fires a single rocket, and that payload continues to explode upon impact in residual explosions. The travel speed of this rocket has been buffed recently, and it is now almost 50% faster than the speed of Northstar's flight core rockets, but still significantly slower than a railgun shot. The ability has a cooldown of 9 seconds, which allows for almost constant use, and the secondary damage explosions have a duration of 4 seconds. The initial impact of the rocket is 300 damage over a very tight radius, which allows you to instantly kill pilots with an accurate shot. Now the damage of the residual explosions are more difficult to calculate. This is because of how the ability functions mechanically. It does not do a set amount of damage depending on an object's distance from the explosion epicenter, but rather it actually spews out a large number of explosive objects in random trajectories from the epicenter. Now these individual objects explode and have their own blast radius. Because of this, targets closest to the center of the explosions will take the most damage on average. What we do know is that a Titan standing in the middle of the explosions will take around 900 damage per second over the 4 seconds, for a total of 3,600 damage, with an additional 300 damage if they were struck by the initial rocket detonation. Now this is a lot of damage. And to put it into perspective, that's about 4 times as powerful as an electric smokescreen when it comes to raw damage output. Let's take a quick look at how it fares against pilots. Well, of course, a direct hit will be an instant kill, and if you want a real challenge, try putting together a montage of goosing ejecting pilots with this ability, because that would be impressive. Here we have a pilot trying to run through the explosions. They don't get very far. Now they try with stim. Also not very successful. Basically, if a pilot gets hit by even 2 of the mini detonations produced by the cluster missile, they will die. But how does it interact with buildings and cover? Well, as with most explosions, the center of the detonation needs line of sight to an object to deal damage to it. So if you're on one side of a wall and the cluster detonation is on the other, you should be safe. However, if you are a Northstar pilot trying to get in some sneaky kills on people running around in buildings, there are some ways around this. Because the cluster missile spews out actual mini grenades in random trajectories, it is actually these mini grenades that need line of sight to deal the damage, not the center of the cluster explosion itself. Here we can see how some of these mini grenades bounce inside the window and can kill the pilot behind the wall, even if he has no line of sight to the explosion epicenter. Of course, this is less reliable than directly placing the explosion radius next to the pilot, but it can be helpful to get some sneaky picks. You can also use the VTOL hover ability to lob missiles over cover, on top of buildings, or otherwise land it in places where most pilots consider themselves safe from enemy Titans. This is particularly useful in something like frontier defense, when you're trying to pick off those pesky mortar specters at a distance without disembarking from your Titan. Now, because of the way this weapon works, it has some interesting interaction with certain Titan defensive abilities. Let's take a look at Tone's particle wall, for example. This wall stops the initial missile as normal, and as usual the residual explosions center at the point of impact with the wall. However, those mini grenades that are spewed out are not classified as projectiles themselves, so they can actually pass through the Tone wall. This means that if that Tone is too close to her wall, she will take almost full damage. The exact same principle applies to Legion and his gun shield, although it should be noted that the top of the gun shield is further away from Legion than the bottom, so if you want maximum damage, place the missile towards the bottom of the shield, or even better, just shoot it under at his feet. It's not so good for the cluster missile when you consider Scorch's flame shield, which will destroy the missile completely, preventing it from creating any explosions at all. Ion is arguably worse, as she can catch the missile with her vortex shield, and when it is returned it will detonate in explosions capable of hurting you. This is probably a good time to note that you can also damage yourself with your own cluster missile all the time, whether you're a Titan or a pilot, if you're silly enough to run into your own radius. Now, a discussion about the cluster missile would not be complete without mentioning the enhanced payload Northstar kit, which increases the radius and duration of the cluster missile. Now, it is very important to note that all this really does is spread out those mini grenades launched by the missile detonation. This means that although they affect a larger area, anything in that area will likely take less damage, even over that longer duration. So pilots will be able to survive for longer within that damage field, and Titans will take less damage. Because of this, I really question whether this perk is ever worth using, as although the increased duration is helpful, it makes it worse in terms of killing power against pilots, and also damage potential against Titans. So with all that out of the way, here are some tricks and tactics to bring out the best in this ability. My favourite use of this missile is to kill pilots that you don't have line of sight to, or may be difficult to hit with the railgun. This is especially useful for pilots peeking out of buildings, or pilots that are staying too stationary. It can also be a really effective way of picking off pilots that get too close and are going to try and rodeo you, as you can cluster the path between you and them, and they must either run through it and die, or wait while you shoot them with the railgun. A second really powerful application is a defensive one, as you can use the missile to create a brief area denial field as you move back and create space. This is a good one for that Ronin that is chasing you down, and combined with tether traps, VTOL hover and dashes, you can escape with ease from enemy Titans who would prefer to engage you up close, and then bring that powerful railgun to bear. Now, you can also use this missile to stack damage on enemy Titans really quickly. Usually this requires a bit of setup to prevent them moving out of the explosion, but lobbing it down a corridor crowded with enemy Titans will likely result in a lot of damage, or even placing it over a slower Titan and forcing them to dash is valuable, since your missile actually recharges faster than the average Ogre chassis dash. To really maximize the damage, launching a cluster missile at one of your tether traps while an enemy is tethered will ensure a great deal of damage, and if you combine this with the electric smoke and VTOL hover to escape, you can really turn the tables on an enemy that gets too close. The cluster missile also has excellent utility when it comes to cleaning up mobs of AI that are on the battlefield, and it can kill grunts, spectres and stalkers with remarkable speed and ease, so you can focus on the greater fight against enemy pilots and Titans. The final and more niche use of this ability that I can think of right now is as an anti-rodeo weapon. If you are being rodeoed, you can shoot the missile at a wall, and this will kill the pilot very quickly that is on your back. However, you will still take about half a bar of damage from your own missile when doing this. I reckon that if you have no other option, this is a pretty good trade out, as a battery removal can deal a lot more than that, and you also get the satisfaction of killing that rodeoing pilot. And that is all I have for you right now on the cluster missile. If you think you have some more tips or secrets for this ability, please let us know in the comments. We really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel as well, and don't forget to check out our Twitch channel for all our live streams, and our Twitter at 4FS Gaming for more updates. Thank you so much for watching. This was Ascendance from 4FS Gaming.